Today, we're going to take a look at the different ways we can manage fuel and carbon offset in Shift. So the first one we're going to look at is the fuel logs. So to get to the fuel logs, we're going to want to go to Fleet. So we can go ahead and choose a vehicle from this list, for example, this one here. And so if we click on it, it brings us to this page. And if we go to the Logs tab here, and then fuel, this will take us to the fuel logs. So right now it's set to today's logs, but we can, for example, go last 7 days by clicking last 7 days and then click apply. And then here we can see the fuel logs for the last 7 days. Anywhere we see a green dot like this is when the fuel was topped up. And anywhere we see a red dot is when the fuel experienced a sudden drop. We can also show and hide the points by clicking this button here. So if I click this, you can see that now those points are hidden. And we can also see that the blue line here represents the fuel volume, and the green line represents the threshold for low fuel. Now, if we want to see our top up and sudden drop off history, we can go to the history tab here, where we can see these two top ups from the last week. And we can also see the coordinates of where it took place and how much the fuel was topped up by. Next, we have the fuel management report. So if we go to the left here, select operations and then reports and come down here, we have the fuel consumption and fuel top up report. So we'll start with the fuel consumption report, but first we have to actually go back up here and select the date range. So we'll go last 7 days and come down here and let's run the fuel consumption report. All right, and now we can see the fuel consumption for all of our vehicles over the last week. You can see the amount of fuel consumed, the distance, and the fuel efficiency, as well as the estimated fuel cost. We can also download this report, save it, or run it again. And if we'd like, we can email this report by adding email addresses here, or we can schedule this report to run regularly by adding a frequency, scheduled time, and end date. Let's click off of this. And we also have the fuel top-up report. So if I click run here, we'll generate that report. And here we can see all the top-up information. So we can basically see every time that fuel was topped up. And like before, we can email and download this report or schedule it or run it again. Now let's click the X again. Now, if we come down further, we can run the sustainability report, which will give us an insight into our carbon offset. So let's click on this. So we run this, we can see the CO2 emissions per vehicle on what date those CO2 emissions were released. And we can go through these pages to see more information. And that's everything we need to know to view our fuel management and carbon offset in Shift.